Movie footage used on the podcast is used for fair use. Nightmare Talkers make no claims, and only uses the footage for commentary and entertainment purposes. Please support Fear Street 1994 by watching it on home media or whatever else you can watch it. Enjoy the episode. Hey guys, how's it going? Good? Good. Are you good? Yes, you're good? All right, sweet. Hey guys, how's it going? It is Smiley, and I am here again with Robin. Grace couldn't make it to this episode. She was sick. So I am here, and Robin is here. So,
Oi,
yeah.
oi.
How's it going, Robin?
How's it going?
Just chilling,
How you
surviving.
feeling? Good.
Yeah, I'm fine. Um, we'll see if I'm in next week's episode. I was planning on taking a break, but then Grace got sick, so I said, you know what, I'll do this so that Robin wouldn't try to record a whole thing by himself or try to find someone else to record an episode with.
It'd have been like, dude, if I did this podcast alone, it would be like 10 minutes. I'd be like, I remember nothing from this movie. Go watch the other ones, I guess. Go. That's how it would work.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, so today we are discussing the movie that's on Netflix. You can also get it like on DVD after Netflix, did it. It came out in 2021. Fear Street 1994, and Fear Street is a three-part series with 1994, 1987, and 1666. It's one overall arching story that kind of leads back to 1994. And so we're just discussing, if I can talk, that'd be great. Discussing the first movie. Again, like I said before in the beginning at the disclaimer, I just have to say this again because we're kind of fighting YouTube over this. That we do not claim copyright of these movies whatsoever. Please go watch it on any type of home media, Netflix, DVD, whatever. Just watch it on any of that, please. And we do not claim copyright on this whatsoever. So, anyways, well, yeah. So just gonna go in. Robin, what did you? So don't give out too much information. What did you like about Fear Street? Actually, did you? For the podcast listeners, sorry, I'm all over the place. I just got out of the hospital myself, so I'm a little bit out of it.
That's all right.
Anyways, so Fear Street is also based off of R.L. Stein's books, which Robin, you'd know probably Goosebumps and things like that.
Yes. I was
So
I was just rewatching Goosebumps this past Halloween,
yeah,
and man, that for what that series was, it really holds up today.
oh yeah, and the interesting thing is everyone knows his Goosebumps, and I forgot my brain is still recovering from everything that happened this last week, but there was another children's horror series that he wrote. Um,
And
uh,
didn't they make Goosebumps movie starring Jack Black?
they made two of them, starring Jack
Oh,
Black as R.L. Stein.
I I didn't know about the second one. I
Yeah,
don't
no,
know.
we don't talk about the second one. And technically, we can talk about Goosebumps because it is a horror adjacent movie,
Yeah.
but that's a whole nother thing for another day. Anyways, so yeah, so I feel like Fear Street, the Fear Street book series, is probably R.L. Stein's kind of comeback to Stephen King
Could be,
because
yeah. Yeah.
Fear Street is not like your typical children's books, your typical R.L. Stein books. It's it's a lot more intense horror book. And he was one of the producers on the series, so he tried to keep it close to the book as possible.
Like that before we get into it, like I watched these movies when they first came out, but I was in a very, very dark place in my life. And that's why I don't remember much of the movie because I was it was a whole thing. Um, but I do remember in part three the girl getting hung by a tree and getting burned with a lighter, and that's all I remember before I rewatched it last night.
There you go. Yeah, no, it's a good series. Like I said, it's an overarching series. And so, yeah, I think what I liked about I was going to say something else about Fear Street. I just don't remember. Oh, like so actually even like a lot of the movie was filmed backwards, like the three-part series. They filmed 1666 first before they filmed anything else.
That does not surprise me at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, because that was going to be the hardest one to do.
Yeah,
And kind of give you a basis for people listening and watching, like, subscribe, follow wherever you listen to podcasts. Um, Fear Street, essentially what it is they believe they have a curse. I mean, it's a curse from a witch called Sarah Fear. She was condemned of witchcraft back in 1666 after the preacher started, like, killed a bunch of kids, like he cut out their eyeballs and things like that. And so and he cut out his own eyeballs too. um
mhm.
and so and so it happens in this town called Shadyside. There's like this town there's two towns that were founded by the same people. There's Shadyside and Sunnyvale. And Sunnyvale, everything's perfect, nothing goes wrong, everyone's prosperous, all that stuff. And then you have Shadyside, where everything can go wrong and tragedies happen often. I think they said in the movie that they are like the birth ground of the number one serial killers in the world. Like, they have killers almost every year. And what I do like about the Fear Street series, like the movie series, is they kind of kept with the trends of slashers that they were going for.
It did. Yep.
Um, because like Skull Mask just reminds me a lot of Ghostface from.
I was just about to say that. He's, in my opinion, a better version of Ghostface.
Whoa, 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 whoa! We don't want that heat, man. We don't want that heat.
What did he say?
I'll take the heat, in my opinion.
You
Hot
take the
take.
heat. Well, listen, you're just the editor. I have to continue doing this.
I said what I said.
Okay, well, what you
Okay.
said was some bull. That's
you don't
what
like
it
it,
is.
I'll take the heat. I don't care. Because I'll say this. Like, it was just better because, like, it was in a mall and it wasn't this hullabaloo that Ghostface is known for doing. Killed the person he was trying to kill in the first 5 minutes.
True, but also he was very clumsy and things like that. And what I also liked is, back like when Scream was filmed and things like that, what they used like that Ghostface costume in the Scream universes. It was a very cheap, easy to find horror, costume to get.
Yeah.
And they kind of did the same thing because, like, the guy who killed everyone in the beginning, he just grabbed it from his where he worked at
Yeah.
and things like that. And then, like, 178 is very Friday the 13th style of a murderer, right? Because, like, the Skull Mask, he sneaks around just like Ghostface sneaks around and attacks. And not as really as brutal because he goes for, like, the vital organs, right?
Yeah, he doesn't.
He doesn't really go super brutal. While the I forgot the name of the one that they called him. It was like Nightcrawler or something like that.
Nightwing. I remember
Nightwing.
this because
Yeah.
I'm a huge DC fan. When I heard that name, I was like, "What? What?
Yeah.
Excuse me?"
Yeah, and so they called him, like, the Nightwing Killer or whatever, and he
It was
gave
like
off like
Captain-
major Jason vibes with
Yeah.
the brutality, and then equaling with the potato sack over his head is an homage to Friday the 13th Part 2, where Jason first appears, and
His best suit, in my opinion.
Yeah,
The best costume.
and he's wearing a pillowcase over his head, right? And so And then 1666, witchcraft, basically everything that has to deal with witches.
A witch!
It wasn't it wasn't slashy. It was more, occultish, right? Did it get slashy? Kind of like, wouldn't say at the end, because 1666, half of it happens in 1666 and then the other half happens in 1994, right?
Right.
And so it doesn't really get slashy. It gets dark, like really dark. And so I wouldn't really recommend it to people that can't handle some of those images. And if we do talk about it, we're not going to put those images on here for just both YouTube purposes, but also just like it those are images you should not have. Kind of like it's good for the movie, right? But not just to have thrown into people's faces every 5 seconds.
That's true.
And so, anyways, now, what did you like about 1994, and what did you didn't like about 1994? Not the year you grew up. I'm talking about the movie.
Fuck, you're old.
Fake laugh, hiding real pain.
Hey man, 1994, good year, good year. I liked the way it was shot. I thought it was shot very cinematically, very beautifully. They had a great soundtrack. I was like, oh, this is a good soundtrack. All the sets looked nice, and that's basically where all my compliments end. Some of the actors were hit or miss, in my opinion. A couple were good, a couple were eh. I like if they try to do too much, in my opinion. They try to do the supernatural stuff, then the witches stuff, and then put 2 love stories within this 2-hour-ish movie. There's just a lot going on.
Yeah. It's not even 2 hours, because like a huge chunk of it is the end credits, right? Because they show you what's going to happen the next movie that was coming out and things like that. Like a good 15-20 minutes of it is just the credits.
So it was just a lot going on, in my opinion. Hard to keep track of this story over here and that story, and it was just a lot going on,
Yeah, I would agree to that. What I did like, it really gave off like the vibe of the 90s. Like they almost hit the 90s to a T when it came to things like that, like the lifestyle, the clothing style, the hairstyle, all of that stuff. Very, very 90s, right? And so, anyways, it was like a very 90s thing, and yes, a great soundtrack. But yeah, I think I would say they try to add a lot.
Good soundtrack,
Yeah.
beautifully shot.
Yeah.
They wish they wouldn't try and do so much within a hour and a half movie.
Yeah, because I felt like they tried to add a lot of the like things about what's happening, right? With like the witch, and then you had the killers, then you had all the you had the Skullface killer, then you had all the killers show up, right? And things like that, and it just kind of, at close to the end, it just kind of got lost.
Yeah, it all fell apart.
In my opinion. And then, it just, and then the ending of it was good, right? The ending of it, where they're getting ready for at the end, which we'll discuss after this. But anyways, let's start talking about the movie, because we've been here for like 15 minutes just yapping. So we should get back to doing our job, right?
Yeah, this is our job. We yap.
Yeah. Anyways, so the movie begins with you made sure you rolled a intro, because I forgot to say play intro. You did that, right?
100%.
Got it. All right.
I'll find a point.
Right after the disclaimer.
Probably.
Anyways, so so the movie begins. They're in the bookstore, that was in the mall, and it has the girl who's from Stranger Things season 3, Is it season
that
3?
where she's from?
Yeah. So she's from. She started out in season 3. She worked in the ice cream shop.
I've never seen Stranger Things.
What did you just say, Bill?
The only actor I recognize is the Skullface killer because he was just in a movie I watched called ding on me. It was like This Is All Mine Now or something
Yeah.
where everyone like kind of switches consciousnesses. It was a very interesting movie, but that's the one guy I recognize through all of it.
Got it. Yeah, like if you feel like you watched like major things on Netflix, you would recognize some people from different Netflix shows and movies and things like that came out exclusively on Netflix. But anyway, so they're doing a thing, or like the lady is buying a book and she's kind of being an asshole. Well, there's whatever. Anyways, there's a tally. Anyways,
Got two already.
she's being that way to the cashier, who is that girl from Stranger Things, and so then she goes to leave, and that girl, she flips her off, and then Ryan is the guy's name that's going to be eventually Skullface, shows up, and he has I don't know if we can screw it. I'm going to say it. He has a blow up doll.
He does have a blow up doll, and he's
And it will
caressing it.
It will be very much blurred if we have it on screen. It will be very much blurred.
And he
anyways.
named it.
Yeah,
Didn't he? He was like, "This is Jennifer," or whatever.
Yeah, I think he said Stacy or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll play like a little tiny clip of when he says the name, like just saying the name, and that's it.
And Jasmine here, 15 minutes to close up.
But anyways, so they go and talk, and then she's finishing closing up and everything, and then all of a sudden, that Skullface guy appears and goes to attack her. And she has no idea what's happening, right? Those before she went to go find Ryan, and that's when Skullface starts to attack. And so she calls 911, and she's on the floor. And eventually the operator was just like, "Hey, if you don't respond, we're going to send someone." And then
like, "Ma'am, you okay?"
Yeah. And then she leaves. She goes to run. Like, she's hiding around the store because he's in the store, right? And
yeah,
then
and she like
runs into the other masks, and
like all the skull masks, which the camera pans, and it all looks the same, and then he pops out. I'm like, that
was good. That was a good shot.
That was so good.
And she thought it was him when she saw the skull mask, but it wasn't. Anyways, and then she leaves, and then she starts to run out of the mall, and then she finds one of the mall people dead with their throat slit, and then she starts to go, and then she gets caught by Skull Mask, and he starts to stab her and everything, and then she pulls off the mask and see it's Ryan, right? And
she's like, "Ryan, it's me.
Yeah, and you can kind of tell that he wasn't there because he looked at his eyes, and a little hint that you can tell when they get possessed is their eyes kind of go look dead, and also flies start flying around around them. And so anyways, and so eventually he kills her, and then the cop shows up and shoots him in the head.
Yep.
And then it's the next day. And if you want to take it from there, they're at the main protag's home.
Yes, they are. At the main protag's home. I believe they're getting set for graduation.
No, they're getting ready to go to school.
I thought it was graduation.
No, so they're getting ready to go to school.
I don't remember much of this movie, man. I apologize.
You're good. I'll just tell it, and then you kind of just add inserts into it.
The most praise I can give this okay. Sometimes the most praise I can give a movie is it's a movie that was made. And that's not me trying to diss on the movie. that's just me not remembering much of it, you know?
Yeah.
Like I remember certain aspects. I remember the graduation thing because I said it 300 times in the movie.
Like they were, so it was senior year and they were working on graduation, but at that point it wasn't. Sorry, my stutter likes to show up every now and then. Anyways, she was packing up a box for her ex, and it just says Sam, and you don't know who that is, right?
Oh yeah, this is when they
Anyways,
tried to
yeah, and
compact the love story.
that's when
right.
they started the one love story.
Yeah, yeah. She's packing up a box and
And her little, and she's like putting things in there, writing a note for Sam, like because it's all Sam's stuff. And her little brother is on the computer.
That dude was I like that guy. Josh, I believe his name was.
Yeah, he was a G.
Love him so much.
He
Uh,
he was very
he's like-
fascinated in killers and things like that.
which I can what's the word I'm looking
I can
for?
relate.
I can relate to him because I'm very fascinated with stuff.
There you go.
Like, and when she comes down, he's on this chat room, and as an old guy, I'm like, I remember this. I remember chat rooms. I remember AOL. Where's my walker?
Just walk to the edge. Walk to the edge.
My walker.
But he's chatting with somebody, and
and they're speaking like old timey in this chat room.
they really are. And I'm like, in my old man brain, I'm like, I like this. This is my stuff.
Yeah, and they're talking about the murders that happened the night before.
Yeah. Like, isn't this crazy? Blah, blah, blah. And Josh and his sister get into it a little bit. Like, they start arguing. I'm like, no, I see this. I see this. Cool, cool.
Well, because he was listening to. He had the. What is that thing called? I know what it is. Cassette player. And he was listening to it. I think it was like the Walkman or whatever it was. And he was listening to it and he was like hiding underneath the sheet and she kept calling for him. And he.
Oh, yeah,
just
like the
couldn't
doorbell
hear.
was ringing. And she's like,
That was
Josh, get the door.
That was later.
I thought it happened twice. No, it happened like 3 times throughout the movie, right?
No, it only happened once during the movie, like that movie itself. It happened twice in the 1666, I believe.
But it
happened
was like-
twice, but that was
Yeah, it was like
it then.
it was like once, and then like in the middle somewhere,
Yeah,
and then once at the end.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, I remember now.
And so, anyways, because they're gonna be late for school, and she's driving them, and so she takes the sheet off of him and grabs the Walkman, and then they leave for school, and they get to the school, and this is where you can kind of tell how Shady Side is. It's a very very rundown town.
Shady Side lives up to the name of being shady.
Yeah. And nothing as good happened there because of the witch's curse. And so, like, they haven't had anything good. Like, murders are very common there, right? And so
sounds a lot like this day and age, but let's not go there.
Yeah. But anyways, and they show up to the school, right?
Yes.
And they go in and they do, and like they kind of separate off because he's going to one thing, like his classes, and she's going to the other. And then he sees Kate, which is one of Dina's friends. That's the main protag's name. And he has a crush on her, and that's when you kind of see the second love story arc, right?
They try to put too much in this. Yeah.
And he does the Konami code. Do you remember what that is?
The Konami code. God, I haven't thought about the Konami code in years. Well,
Do you remember what the Konami code is?
left, right, up, down, A, B, start.
Yes. And
God, I haven't thought about that in years.
Yeah, and he says that as he's going through, which I thought it was really cool. But you know what would have given him confidence?
Hmm.
Today's sponsor. I have to plug it in somewhere, right?
You're right. You're right. It would have. Your W would have given him confidence.
Yeah, Debbie would have given him confidence, especially if he used promo code Nightmare Talker at checkout.
He
Yeah,
would
they had
save
internet.
10% off his order.
Yeah, and they had internet then. I mean, he was on the chat room, so it wasn't like
Yeah,
he
he
couldn't
was.
order it. Now, was W around then? No,
It could have
but
been.
It could have
You
been.
don't
Yeah. That would have helped him a lot. But yes, so you go to w.gg, and they have all kinds of stuff for it's gamer energy drinks, zero sugar. They have things with caffeine, no caffeine. They have a starter pack, tubs, merch, cans of their sodas, not sodas, of their gamer energy drinks, because it's not soda. Anyways, and so when you go to checkout, you use promo code Nightmare Talker for 10% off your order. Again, that's w.gg, and use promo code Nightmare Talker to get 10% off your order.
And it will give you the confidence to talk to your crush.
It'll give you the confidence to talk to your crush, boy, girl, whoever it is.
Exactly.
We don't judge here. We listen and we don't judge.
I mean, I don't judge. I don't care.
It depends on the person. Just kidding.
That. Ooh,
And-
that's getting cut.
Eh. Well, I mean, like the person they're going after, if they're toxic.
Yeah,
or not.
yeah,
That's what I mean. Okay.
Yeah, no.
All of a sudden, because
No,
I'm from the South, I'm like that, and all of a sudden, it's just like a little bleep.
Like a 30-second bleep. No,
Listen
no,
here,
I get
you
it.
son of a gun.
Listen here, you son of a gun. You know.
All you guys with your gosh darn. Anyways,
Gosh darn it.
before we get canceled, when we just barely started, and this is actually also just want to say this is episode number 6,
Yeah.
which is insane to think.
6 episodes, and it's going strong.
Yeah. Fought one copyright claim. I forgot to mention this. Oh, well, because we were recording the Poltergeist. They didn't have it yet, and I should have updated YouTube. We got Scream on. The Scream made it back because it worked
Hey.
for the fair use, right? And so there you go. And then right now we're fighting with Warner Brothers over freaking Poltergeist because Warner Brothers wants to,
Be a doofus.
Yeah. And we were looking at it before the podcast, and it's literally just like 1 minute and 30 seconds of a clip where they said, yep, we're going to take the whole video down because of that 1 minute and 30-second clip.
So,
And the other annoying thing is like it posted on YouTube, and then an hour later they took it down. So, I mean, you can still listen to the audio version of it, right?
Yep.
But anyways, back to Fear Street 1994. So they meet up, and then so Dina is also walking around, and this kind of hints about who Dina goes after, right, in a relationship, because there's this bunch of straight couples. It's not even trying to go into that, but it's it's all over the place in this movie, right?
it really much is. It's like
It's the whole premise of basically everything that has happened.
Like,
And so
it's so much to take in, and it gets lost.
yeah,
But
like they were trying to prove a point, like a political point or something kind of point. I don't know. I try not to focus on movies when they bring up politics, because I think those are two separate. This is just my opinion. Those are two separate realms.
100%.
Like
You shouldn't bring politics into movies. It doesn't
like, you need
doesn't
to
work
keep,
well.
You need to keep your politics out of movies. I mean, look at the current state, and this again might get us in trouble, but I don't care. Look at the current state of the MCU, right? They started bringing in political stuff. Now they've started going back to where they were, but they started bringing a lot more, made it more prominent. Like, I don't care if you kind of like do a little bit, right? A little bit here and there, but if you make like a whole movie based on it, it kind of just gets
Then-
lost, and the audience that you want them to watch, don't watch it.
Yeah.
Right. And so, anyways, but so she's in the hallway, and a bunch of people are kissing in the hallways and things like that.
Very high schooly.
Yeah, very high schooly. And she tries to get to her locker, and two people are kissing on her locker, and so she like slams on the locker, and they get up and they leave. And then you see the girl that was killed the night before, her locker with the rest in peace and all that stuff all over it. And
Yep.
someone comes up with a knife and carves RIP on the locker itself.
Which, listen, don't
Don't bring a knife to school.
bring a knife to school, and don't carve into school property. That is a no-go.
We do not support vandalism
No, we don't.
unless it's cool. I mean, no, we don't support
Unless
it
it's cool. Unless it's cool and you can get away from it. But also, in parentheses, don't do it.
I think it would be funny. I think Markiplier brought this up is when he saw like a piece of plywood. And you can do stuff like that if you own a piece of plywood. You know, you can do whatever you want on it. And it says press shift to run. And Markiplier mentioned, it'd be so funny if we just put that in random places across the world.
Press control. That is a weird thing to graffiti on a board. I should do that. Oh my god, we should totally do that. We should just start graffitiing instructions for like keyboard controls, but out in real life so people get confused. Oh my god, how bad would that mess with someone's mind if they were just out in the forest and it said, press shift to run. Do it. Do that thing. Do the thing. Do that thing. Do that thing. We're gonna do that thing. Go out and do that thing.
Put like
That would be funny.
put a random place that says press shift to run.
To run.
And like non-gamers, they just will found that like dumb, but gamers would be like, "Oh, wait a minute,
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be here."
Like, whoa.
Boss music starts playing in the background. Someone's pulling up
Yeah,
a
like-
JBL speaker, playing boss music. Oh no!
Like the Dark Souls theme music.
Oh, this is a lot of ammo and health potions. This is interesting, and there's no one. Oh,
Oh. I always get, like, whenever I see a bunch of ammo and health, I'm like, oh, so, boss, got it.
I'm gonna die.
I'm not prepared, but thank you.
Anyways, but back to the movie, and this is where you officially meet Kate and Simon, her two friends, right? And
Oh yeah, Simon. I like Simon too. Simon was kind of,
he was the really good comic relief character,
yeah.
and
He's the one character that I was like, okay, I can follow him because he's not overly complicated.
Yeah, and so they go to the bathroom, and they have spray painted inside the bathroom the witch's poem that they tell to kids, right, about Sarah Fear and things like that, and so they're just discussing about like the murder from the night before. And you can see that it happened so much in that town because of how nonchalant everyone was about it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, there's been another murder.
Yeah, because like
Oh.
earlier before that, there was a boy running through the hallway. Again, another homage to Scream, because in Scream they had the two guys. They had the guy in the full Ghostface costume running down the hallway, and then in this movie they have a guy with the dummy with a knife in its back dragging the dummy across the hallway. Right.
Which is, in my opinion, was too soon to make that joke, but also I know somebody like that.
Well, I mean,
So-
they did the same thing in Scream because,
Yeah.
Drew Barrymore got killed the night before, and they know what the guy looked like, and then you see him running through the hallway.
Like, I do know somebody who takes the too soon joke a little too far.
Oh, I did a really bad too soon joke that I will not say on here. I'll tell you it after we get done recording. That I did
I'm not
this
sure if I
week.
want to. No, I'm not sure if I want to share the story publicly because it might get us in trouble.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say me. I'm not gonna do it on here. Anyways.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll tell you after we get done recording
yeah.
because it's something else.
Yeah. Anyways, so they're in the bathroom, and you also learn that Kate started dealing again, and they were like,
Oh yeah, she was the drug dealer.
yeah,
Right.
and Dina was like, I don't know why you're doing this after, Simon's brother OD'd. And he's like, he didn't technically OD because he didn't die. We
There
brought
you
him
go.
back. Which is like, an OD's an OD.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if it leads to death or not. I mean, the literal, it's short for drug
Overdose.
overdose, right?
Overdosing. Yep.
So it's short for overdosing, and so it doesn't matter if you lived or died, right?
You still OD'd.
You still OD'd, and so, anyways, and they're just kind of discussing the witch, the witch's curse in the bathroom, and things like that, talking about what's happened. And then she's also saying, like, when they leave, she's like, hey, can you give this to Sam tonight for me? And she's like, nope, I don't want to get in I don't want to be in your ex's drama, which everyone at home was probably thinking the same thing when they watched it again.
Yeah, yeah, don't get involved in exes, man. That's a recipe for disaster right there. Like,
and it just makes things 10 times worse,
Like that could result in a loss of friendship, and it's a whole thing, man.
Yeah, no, it's insane. Anyways, and she mentions like, well, you're supposed to give it to him. Like, what do you mean? And she was like, well, I quit band and stuff like that because turns out her ex moved to Sunnyvale, and they were gonna play a game that night, like a football game, and they had to do a candlelight vigil.
That's what. Yeah, that's why I was thinking about graduation.
Yeah,
earlier,
it was a candlelight vigil for the girl who died the night before.
Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
And so they get
And
on,
they get in a.
they get on the bus to go to the thing, and then she's just sitting there and she listens to another amazing song. Again, we can't play
Insane
it
in the
for.
membrane.
Yeah, we just can't play it, on here.
Insane in the brain.
Yeah,
And,
we just can't
and
play
then
it on
it
here for
switches
copyright, copyright purposes.
And then when they're going, it's again beautiful shot of the bus driving, and they play "Creep" by Radiohead.
Oh yeah, and then the bus also backfires too.
That's
Which is a little detail that I remember. It backfires because you see like a bunch of black smoke, and then it's leaving, right?
Yep.
And you see, that's where you really get to see the town of Shadyside, and just dilapidated homes, businesses being foreclosed on, and
Sounds a lot like Detroit.
yeah,
Can I say that out loud?
gosh. Anyways, I mean, they did build, Detroit was built on sacred Indian land, Native American land.
I'm not wrong though. You can't
Anyways,
tell me
but
I'm
that's
wrong.
that's a whole other thing that we're just gonna move on.
You can't tell me I'm wrong though.
Yeah. Anyways, so they're leaving Shadyside, and there's a sign they changed the sign from Shadyside to, I'm not gonna say it because I don't want the tally to come up even more.
Future me's watching you.
Yeah. Anyways, so he's probably like, "Come on, say it, say it, say it."
Yeah, Future me's like say it, even though you can't, but it's part of the movie.
Come on, say it. I know you want to.
Come on.
Dang it, you didn't do it. Anyways, and so and then they get into Sunnyvale, right?
Which is like the exact
It's
opposite.
exact opposite. There's like mansions and just beautifully cut lawns, well taken care of streets. Like everything is the exact opposite of Shadyside.
Mhm.
And so they're at the candlelight vigil, and it's the mayor of Sunnyvale, and he's talking. He's like, as the mayor of Sunnyvale, we do grieve for you guys in Shadyside. This shouldn't happen. Blah blah blah. And then the sheriff gets on and talks about how they're gonna make sure this doesn't happen again. And during this whole time, Dina is looking over and sees the players and the cheerleaders over there, and kind of starts focusing on this one couple, and they get starting to get really, really
Handsy.
into it, really handsy, and then she leaves because she's not happy. Turns out that her ex was over there. Again, we still don't know who Sam is, right?
No,
everyone
but-
thinks it's the football player. Anyway, so then Dina is sitting there, and then
alone.
Sam shows up, and it turns out Sam's a girl.
And then they get into ex's argument.
Yes, they get into an ex's argument because she goes and hands the box back, like the box of their stuff, and it's
"Here's your-
like, oh,
your
you
stuff."
you left me, like you broke up with me, you decided to move here, you made that decision, you're trying to run away from who you actually are.
And who's
things-
that guy
Yeah, who's that
being
guy?
handsy with you?
Yeah, and things
And-
like that. And they're kind of going back and forth. Meanwhile, out on the field, the sheriff is talking about the tragedy and things like that. And one of the players was like, what tragedy? It happens in Shadyside all the time. Like, why do we even do this? There's
Like, who cares?
Who cares? And things like that. And one of the players hears and was like, what did you say? And he was like, it doesn't matter. It happens all the time in your crappy town,
Yeah.
And so why
And then,
should we be doing this? And then a fight breaks out.
Fight breaks out between two schools, and again, it's the most high schooly thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, okay, guys, like, please just stop. We difference of opinions, but
And you have the school
know.
administrators and things like that. Very American high school when it comes to fight. Guys, please stop. No.
yeah, please stop. Like,
stop.
please.
No. And then the sheriff had to get in there and start breaking people up. I know Kate at one point was trying to break up a fight, and then, she gets elbowed in the face from someone from Sunnyvale.
She really hard, man.
Oh yeah,
like,
it was. You heard the smack.
like God, man.
Yeah, and
These
so
people didn't
they did
not hold back.
care.
Then they cut to the bus, and
Well, so
And
also another funny thing is Simon is the mascot, which is it's the Shadyside Witches, and he smacks the guy with the broomstick and flips him off, and then he gets
that's
punched in the
right.
face.
I remember the stick because it was like a little tiny nerd,
Yeah,
and he just smacks him, and the guy just looks over like, the hell?
and then just punches him straight in the face.
I'm like you really think that would work?
Yeah, and then it cuts to the bus, and they're leaving, and they're kind of hyping the players up and everything because the game is that night.
Yeah, and they're doing a chant. Like, when I say Sunny, you say side.
When
Sunny,
I say
side.
shady, you say side.
Yeah, shady. Then you said side, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah, and
And
okay, go ahead.
and Dina's like, just on the bus, just holding her nose because she got elbowed hard.
Oh
And
no!
she looked-
Dina's nose just started randomly bleeding. She was never in that fight.
No, that was
They both of their noses started randomly bleeding.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
And-
because she was never down in the fight. She was just there.
Yeah, trying to, yeah. And then a car is trailing the bus. And it's
And-
Sam and her new boyfriend Peter. I remember his name.
And they're wearing
like-
They're wearing the skull masks,
Yeah.
and they're harassing them.
And one of the people is like, "Oh, look out there!" And Dina and another girl open up the emergency exit, and Sam's nose, Dina's nose starts bleeding again
And then they throw
because they're gonna throw.
the water cooler.
Yeah, they're gonna throw the water cooler, which is full of Gatorade, which is really dangerous because
I mean, you saw
What
what
they-
happened. You see what happened after they did it. I mean, it's
Why?
dangerous in two ways because you don't know how fast they're going, And while the
No.
entire time, the bus driver just keeps driving, right? He
the
doesn't
bus-
stop when the stuff is being thrown at the car
No.
and things like that at the
And-
bus. And they open up the emergency door. Again, the bus driver says not a single word.
The bus driver's like, "Listen, man, I just get paid to drive."
I don't get
Whatever.
paid enough.
Yeah, like
don't
a
get
bunch
paid
of high
to deal with
schoolers are just doing their stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
And so then they throw
and
the...
Dina's like
Yeah.
kind of out of it, like she goes in a trance,
And they
she
throw the they throw the Gatorade on the car, and then the car flies off the road and crashes into a tree.
yep,
and then-
and
Go ahead.
and then Dina's finally like, "Stop the bus! Stop the bus!"
Yeah.
Like after 10 minutes of the whole shenanigans.
Oh yeah. It was.
Uh,
Yeah.
it was a long time between Gatorade and Stop the Bus, and I'm kind of mad at this movie now because I remember this is what set off my since I have tinnitus or however I pronounce it,
Yep.
or ringing in the ear, and they kind of set that off in this part, so I was really mad at this movie. But anyways, like they crash, Sam kind of rolls out of the car and touches like a certain patch of land. Man, I'm remembering way more than
It's a
Then I
bunch of
let
red
on.
moss.
Think, think, think. Brain blast.
I'm colorblind, so
Yeah, it's
whatever.
red. It's red moss, which is significant to the story.
And then she gets like a flash. Then she gets like a vision of
Well, her nose is bleeding. She wipes it, and then she touched a particular part of the red moss. Again, you have no idea what it is, and then she gets the flashbacks of Sarah Fear being killed.
yeah, and then like then Dina and a couple friends come up and ask, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Then the sheriff shows up, starts taking witness statements and stuff like that, and everyone's trying to cover.
Yeah,
and it's like,
and also it's just because they both did something illegal, right? You know, he was
Yeah.
chasing after them. They were chasing after them. They threw the water cooler and things like that. And
so it was just like it was an
Yeah.
accident.
yeah,
You know,
and
they're trying to
Sheriff
cover for
Good-
everybody.
Yeah, and the sheriff.
Yeah,
Good
Sheriff
who
is-
shows up.
The sheriff is kind of like, "Okay, guys, come on, just tell me the truth here,
Yeah,
please."
yeah, and so that happens, right? And then things like that. Also, just another warning before you watch it, sensitivity warning. There's lots of homophobic slurs that go around in this movie.
A little bit.
Not even like it's a lot more in 1666 because it's like more of the era, right?
Yeah.
And so just a forewarning before you watch it, right? There is that. So if you're sensitive to that, don't recommend watching it. But other than
And then
that,
yeah.
I forgot that we do have to mention that. It's something that people should know.
yeah. And then like, Sam gets in a gurney and gets put in a ambulance, and Peter and Dina kind of get into it, and Sheriff looks back, and Peter kind of hugs Dina and says, I will kill you," but he uses
And
a
he
word
uses,
that
he uses that slur. And
Yeah.
Again, it's like 1994, right? Where it's like most prevalent during that time. And also Peter is Sheriff Good's son.
yeah.
Peter's Sheriff Good's son. And he's mad about the car being broken, and it Dina, that's why they got into a little heated argument. It's like, you wrecked my car, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, Daddy can buy you a new car, and things like
Which-
that. Just,
You shouldn't say that. Daddy should no. Like
yeah. Well, it's a slap in the face to him, right? It's like he doesn't really
Yeah.
actually work for anything. His dad takes care of everything, right?
I'm of the mindset of like, Don't escalate the situation. Just try to bring it down. Say your apologies. Move on. That's how I operate. So I'm like, please, this
Yeah. Anyway,
what happened happened.
Yeah. So now Dina's back home, and like they did like it was like the next day. They weren't at school or anything. It was just straight the next night, which made you think that it was that same night, but no, it was the next night after the accident. Dina tries to call Sam, like in the hospital, and
then Sam's mom picks up,
and then her mom is like does not like Dina whatsoever, and tells her never talk to her again, leave us alone, blah 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 blah. And it just shows like her mom knows what's happening, right?
Yeah,
and so and her mom doesn't approve. And so again, it's just again, like when it came to political stuff, they did good, but I felt like they were kind of pushing it a little bit.
Yeah, it was very heavy-handed.
It was very heavy-handed on that, and so
in a sense.
Again, I don't mind that. It was just we get it,
Yeah, like you don't have to keep pushing it. We understand.
Yeah.
This please stop putting everything in the kitchen sink in this movie. It's already getting convoluted.
Yeah, and so
already.
And so after that, she is like upstairs. I think she's talking on the phone with Kate. And no. The doorbell keeps ringing over and over and over and over again.
Right.
And she's trying to get Josh to get the door, and he's playing a video game.
My main man Josh. He's like, Josh, get the door, it's ringing. Josh, stop, get the door.
Yeah, and so eventually she gets the door, and then there's like no one at the door. And then she sees Skullface out there, a skull mask, and she thinks it's someone from Sunnyvale.
Yeah, she thinks it's Peter.
Yeah, she thinks it's Peter. And so then, go ahead.
And then, and he's out there for a while, like longer than any normal human should be, even if they're playing a prank. And she's like, "Good work, Peter. Stop, or else something will happen." Insults his manhood or something.
She straight up threatens to kill him, out in public.
Yeah.
And so they go back. Go ahead.
And then she gets really fed up.
Because she sees him in the backyard, too.
Yeah. Which I would get fed up, too.
Yeah. And we don't, at this point, you don't know it's, actually Skullface. It's just, they think it's someone from Sunnyvale. And so she calls Kate, and Kate's babysitting. And Kate, is a wonderful babysitter. She's literally teaching these girls, okay, this is how you separate drugs. You do this, and I'll get you something.
But don't ingest them.
Yeah, don't eat them. And
Simon,
Simon's in the other room sorting clothes. Anyways, go ahead.
I'm sorry I'm laughing at this, but just the thought of someone babysitting, and these kids are like, what, 6, 7, maybe?
Yeah.
They don't know the world. They see something, and they're like, all right, I'm going to eat it. What's to say that they didn't...
they weren't going to.
Yeah, they weren't going to, or tell their parents?
Yeah.
So it was just bad decisions in that 30-second period where it's like, all right, don't eat these. If these are still here within 10 minutes, I'll give you $10 or whatever.
Yeah,
so
she said she was going to get him something.
Which they're adding bribery to this too.
Yeah.
Which is really funny to me.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Anyway, so then she goes into the living room, and Simon's there, and he's sorting out clothes, and then she realizes that he's still wearing the shirt from the night before with the blood all over it, right? Yep. Because he's like, well, I was at work today, and then I had to leave, and I just didn't really have anything to wear, and so I just put this back on, right? And so...
Which is a very man thing to do.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Anyways, and then Dina calls over, and they start talking about it, and then Kate sees Skullface, right? And then
Yep,
Skullface breaks into the house.
Yeah, like sneaks into the house and starts.
Well, he didn't sneak
Looking-
into the house; he just broke in.
That's right. You're right. He
He
broke
just-
in
he
and
broke
starts
in.
sniffing stuff. Like,
He's like sniffing and rummaging through the clothes until he finds Peter's shirt because he took it off, and then looks
Which
at it,
is
stabs it
very-
a little bit, and then leaves.
yeah, which is very creepy. Like,
And again, we don't know why that happened.
yeah, it was just like creepy and unsettling. Like, okay.
Yeah, and so then they go to the hospital to go confront Peter and check on Sam. And so they get
and
and they take Josh with them. Like Kate's
They
like,
do
"Yo,
take-
come on," you know. Because Kate
And-
drops him off at an old lady's house or whatever.
yeah,
Which you'll
then they-
find out later it was the nurse from the second one.
yep. And then they get to the hospital and they're like, "Hey, we're looking for tell Betty that he has a special guest or whatever." And they're using really 90s drug phrases like "I'm out of blueberries and bananas,"
Yeah.
which means Vicodin and Percocet.
Yeah, and so they're doing that, and then Dina runs off to Sam's room and then confronts Sam about saying like Peter's doing all of this stuff, and then also while that's happening, they go over to the vending machine, and Kate's like, "Oh, does anyone have any money?" And it's so funny to watch how awkward Josh is around Kate.
Josh is. This is the reason I like Josh so much. He reminded me of back when I was in high school. I was just like awkward around any person I liked. I was like, And then he punches in a cheat code to the vending machine, and he's like, "What do you want?" And all the candy starts flying off.
Which you know, that's just ultimate, as the kids say, Riz.
Dude's got Riz.
Oh, sheesh, I'm gonna go wash my mouth out with soap after that one.
Yeah, man. How dare you use the word Riz in this economy?
It's not even that. It's just it's so dumb. But
It's so
anyways,
dumb.
It's so dumb.
Dude, if I was with Josh and he did that, I would be impressed.
Oh yeah,
'cause, like,
100%.
Also, I need to know what code he used, so anytime I go to a vending
Oh, well,
machine,
they
I can
don't.
just
They don't
punch it
do
in.
that. They don't do that anymore. That was an old code because that code was a real one, but it was an old one for the '90s vending machines that people found out. And
But
so,
I would be so impressed.
Yeah,
and-
so
And then we cut back to Dina and Sam having
an argument.
an argument,
Sam
which-
gets out of bed. Is out
Yeah.
of bed at that point.
and then Peter comes in, and then Dina is like, "Okay, why'd you do what you did?" And Peter has no idea what they're talking about.
And she thinks Peter's lying the whole time, and
Yeah.
they start arguing back and forth all the time, and then all of a sudden a knife comes through Peter's chest.
Yep, which
Yeah,
confirms in their brain, oh, he was not.
it wasn't him, and so then Peter drops and they see it's Skull Mask. Again, we don't know if it's at this point you don't know it's actually Skull Mask. It
Could be a copycat.
could
or
be
something.
a copycat, and so they run, right?
Yep.
And they do kind of the Final Girl circuit, that's famous in every horror movie where they start finding dead bodies.
Yep.
They find
Like the nurse.
the nurse in the front area, her throat was slashed, and things like that.
And then they go out and they're wondering, okay, who has the keys to the car? Who has the keys?
That was
and then
Kate, Josh, and Simon, because Dina and Sam were being chased by a Skull Mask, and so they ran out to go get the car started to leave.
And then they steal an ambulance.
To be fair, though, that is probably one of the smartest decisions in any horror movie ever.
That's true.
Because they actually get resourceful. It's like, well, we can't find the car keys, so guess what? We're going to take this thing instead. And so,
And you know what? Good on them. They, like, ambulance has medical supplies they can use, so they're
Yeah.
smart.
and again,
And
they
then
it is a good mix of CGI and practical effects too, which I do like.
Yeah.
And then you have Sam and Dina. I'm sorry, I keep taking over.
No, it's over.
We're kind of extending this part. We're about to hit the hour mark. So anyway, so Sam and Dina take off, and then they're hiding behind the nurse's desk, and again, very Screamish style thing. They're trying to hide, and then like a worker shows up, an orderly shows up, and he looks at them, and he was about to say, "You guys shouldn't be here," blah blah blah, and he sees the dead body, and he turns around, and then Skull Mask gets him like right in the throat.
Yeah.
Right, and again, it just shows, and Skull Mask, he's more of a hunter, which is the same thing with Ghostface. He stalks and stalks his victims and hunts his victims until he kills them because it gives him more satisfaction out of it.
Very, very relentless.
Yeah, and so then they leave and they knock out Skull Mask, and so
And then they
Dina
take off the
takes
mask,
and it sees it's Ryan from
which
with the bullet hole in his head.
yeah, and that's when you're like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
He got shot in the beginning. He's supposed to be dead.
Yeah, and so they take the ambulance to the police station, and Dina and Sam
Which
are
is-
yeah.
Listen, as smart as it was to steal an ambulance,
Don't take it
going
to the police
straight-
station.
to the police station was a very dumb move.
Yeah. You also meet the custodial engineer of the mall. He has a bigger role to play later on. What I did like about Fear Street is the fact that they brought in like little characters, quote unquote, little like small role characters that turn out to have like a bigger role later on in the story, right?
Yeah.
And so, anyways, so they go and tell the police chief that, and Simon leaves, and the police chief just doesn't believe them, right? Until he gets
No.
the call that, there's like the nurses are freaking out because there's a bunch of dead bodies over at the hospital, right?
Yeah, like they're talking about, oh, it's that guy from the beginning of the movie,
And they're like, he couldn't
And-
be that guy because my colleague
'Cause
shot him in
he's-
the head.
and then they show him a picture. It's like, is that the dude who saw? And they're like, yeah. Okay, here's another one of him dead.
Yeah. And
Are
so
you sure?
And so, anyways, they're trying to, and the sheriff then eventually leaves to go check out what's happening. All this time, also, Simon leaves to go relieve himself, and Kate and Josh are sitting there, and Kate's wondering why he knows a lot about serial killers, and he's like, well, you got to know your enemy, right? Because it's very frequent in Shadyside for serial killers to just appear out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's randomized, and so
Yeah. I can see him listening to true crime podcasts.
yeah.
And also, I felt like he had a little bit of ADHD because
I would say a little bit more of like autism.
autism, something like that. Because he got real obsessed about serial killers, and I do have ADHD, and I get hyper focused on some stuff. Like
Me,
right
it's
now, I'm
just
hyper
horror.
focused. Yeah, like right now, I'm hyper focused on learning everything about Oppenheimer for some reason, and I can't tell you why.
Interesting. So
Yeah, I can't tell you why, but I know a lot of stuff about Oppenheimer now, and I
Yeah.
don't
you mean
and I don't know why.
You mean Oppenheimer?
We knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent.
Oppenheimer. A lot of people say it different ways.
Anyways, so
Anyway,
Peter-
so like he knows what's going on. He knows.
well, he doesn't
stuff.
know. He doesn't know it's the killer's coming back yet.
No,
right?
but he knows like stuff.
Yeah, and so Peter's out there and he's relieving himself. He's taking a piss, and that probably goes on the swear count or whatever. I don't care. Anyways,
No, there's a few things that don't go on the swear counter. It's damn and piss, because that's very PG-13.
got it. Anyways, so he's out there, and then he sees a girl just sitting there singing to herself, and then eventually she attacks him, right? And turns out it was Ruby Lane, which was a serial killer back in the 50s, the Shady Side serial killer. And you can see it again. Warning of self-harm. You see her wrists are slit and stuff like that.
And the whole and when that attack was, she was trying to off him, and they get back. The group gets back, and he's telling the story. You know, like I saw this.
They get back to Dina's house at that point.
And he's talking about, I saw this hot woman, and the whole time he's sexualizing the killer.
Yeah.
He's like, oh man, she'd be so hot if she wasn't a psycho. This hot girl tried to kill me.
She's so crazy hot.
Yeah, she's so crazy hot.
Yeah.
And Josh is kind of like, wait a minute, was her wrist slit?
Well, he
was
first
she
asked,
singing?
like, was she singing oldie music and...
Yeah, oldie music. Was her wrist slashed? And he's like, yeah. But what about it? And he goes, oh, this is her. And then starting to put pieces in place.
They're starting to connect the dots, and then that's when they find out that the killers are coming back to life. And so then they go out to the woods where everything happened because they're trying to retrace their steps. And then they go out to that spot and the car's still there, and they found out that Sarah Fear that was buried right there. They find the chains and the bones and things like that.
Yes. And like Sam touches it again, gets this creepy whisper that's like, you.
Yeah.
And then I believe his name is Captain Nightwing or Counselor Nightwing or something. Nightwing.
They just called him Nightwing.
I thought it was something before Nightwing.
They called him like the Nightwing Slasher or something like that.
Yeah.
But they just kept calling him Nightwing, and he shows up, and this is when you kind of start figuring out there's something going on, because he just runs right past Josh.
Straight towards Sam.
Yeah. And so then they take off, and they get into the ambulance, and they leave, and that's when they start figuring out, oh, they're all coming after Sam.
And everyone's like, why? And Josh is like, oh, the blood. Which...
She bled on the bones.
Yeah, blood on the bones, blood on the shirt, blood on the shoe.
And that's why Skullface was there at both of the places, right? Because they weren't necessarily after them. They'll kill them if they're in the way, right? But they're not necessarily after them. They're after Sam.
Yeah.
And you don't know the reasoning, right? Besides, like, she bled on the bones, right? And
yeah, like, okay. Like, she blood on the bones. What of it, you know?
And so they come up with a plan. They go to the school, and they try to decontaminate themselves from the blood and things like that. And that's when, like, you had the two love triangles starting to kind of go. You had Sam and Dina going at it. And then you had Josh
and Kate going at it.
Well, they didn't go.
And no, they didn't go at it.
And
but
then
they started
Peter,
to.
and then you had Peter starting to go at it too. And so, and I love, like, one of my favorite scenes is when they leave the bathroom. It's like, you guys banged? You guys banged. I did too.
They use the phrase, oh, did y'all all go to Pound Town?
Yeah.
So did I. And
very 90s.
And I almost threw up in my mouth because I was like, that is gross. Ew. Ew, ew, ew.
Yeah.
I don't want to know about nothing.
Yeah.
But good on them. They got their rocks off somewhat. And then they figure out, oh, it's the blood. Then they come up with a plan of, like, smearing, like, mopping the blood to a location. At the bathroom, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep, the bathroom. And everyone's like, oh, we need to make sure all the blood's washed off. And Sam is one of the best lines in this movie, in my opinion, is, oh, there's nothing I can do about that. Because it's hers, which I found that delivery good. And then the killers start showing up one by one. Like, oh, Skullface is here, Nightwing is here.
Ruby Lane's here.
Ruby's here. They start following the blood, like hunters, into this bathroom, and
Yeah.
they start opening it up. And Nightwing's the most aggressive one out of all of them.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a Jason like character, and so
Like the way he threw open the bathroom door was
Yeah.
very, very aggressive.
And also, by the way, Sam is in the bathroom because they knew if Sam wasn't in there, they wouldn't go in, right?
Yeah.
And so then,
And then-
Sam gets out going through the vents, and then they put a bunch of chemicals on the ground that was very flammable and explosive, and
They
lock the door.
They light it up.
Yep, and then they think they killed the killers, and so then
because it literally blew up.
Yeah.
Which, the next morning at the school must have been like, what happened here?
well, but here's the thing: that none of that black goo was still there because it got all absorbed. Like if it worked, yes, they would have been like, what's going on here, right?
I mean, the bathroom was still trashed though.
Yeah.
So it was like,
well, they're also gonna be like, oh, it's Shadyville.
that's true. That's true. It's like,
It's Shady Side. This is
Yeah.
normal. Vandalism,
But-
very normal.
yeah, vandalism. Yeah. And the killers start regrowing, regenerating.
Yeah, and they're kind of just talking in the hallway, and then all of a sudden, the killers start coming back. It was Nightwing that shows up, and so then they lock themselves inside the science lab, and then they realize, okay, how did this happen? And
Yeah,
they try to call C. Berman because C. Berman went through the exact same situation before
But survived.
and survived, but she never answered the phone and things like that. And so then eventually, also during this time, the sheriff is driving around. He drops off a note at C. Berman's house.
Yeah, saying it's happening again.
Yeah,
Which-
you don't know it's C. Berman's house until afterwards.
But he does drop off a note saying it's happening again. Which begs the question, why the hell he didn't believe them beforehand? Because obviously you lived through this once.
Because he was there at the Camp Nightwing when it happened.
Yeah, but still, I would have been like, okay, I benefit of the doubt that let's say I believe you. But then they come back to the school and they get reminded of the poem and they realize, oh, Sam has to quote unquote die for them to.
Well, also not just that is they read in there that she died and was revived.
Yeah.
And so then they go to the grocery store, and they come.
Well,
with
no.
a
First
plan.
they were having an argument of oh, we're just gonna let Sam out there, kill her,
Yeah.
and everyone's like, what? No, what the?
Oh yeah, because
no.
it was before they found out that C. Berman died and came back to life,
Yeah.
and so they were gonna let her they were gonna let Sam die, and so then Sam volunteers, right?
Yeah, and Dina and Sam just got back together, and Dina's like, "You can't do this. I'm not gonna let you die." And
Yeah.
that's when they're like, "Oh, C. Bourbon survived. Okay."
And how she
That's-
did is she died first, and so they come up with a plan and they leave. Oh, well, also while this is while they're coming up with this plan, Nightwing shows up and starts chopping down the door.
While snorting,
Yeah,
remember the snorting?
Yeah.
Very.
I mean,
Very
if you
vividly.
If you have caption on, right, it says it on there.
I watch everything with captions, but
Yeah, and so yeah. Anyways, so they go to the grocery store because the Nightwing breaks down the door and they're gone. They go to the grocery store and it's like, okay, this is how you do it. Take these pills and then take these pills and then wait 5 minutes to take these other pills. They put blood X's on their shirts to
Yep.
to confuse the killers. And
what I'd like about the grocery store is when they got there, it was like a smooth pan shot
of Simon being employee of the month.
every single month.
Yeah.
Like, that man does his job correctly.
Oh yeah. And so, anyways, and so they go with the plan, and the killers show up, and so they split. And so Dina stays with Sam, and then the killers start attacking the other three. The first one to go was Simon. He gets axed in the head
Yep.
by Nightwing, and so he gets axed in the head. Josh sees it, and also
And then-
during this time, Kate is fighting off Skull Mask, and then eventually she
And-
gets pushed through a bread slicer,
Which,
which
is
is super wicked.
like I've seen a lot of deaths throughout my watchings of shows and movies. That's up there with the most creative, most wicked thing I've ever seen. Like that's cool.
Yeah, it was very creative, and that was actually all practical.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, and so they added like CGI blood in it, but like the head and like there was a body prosthetic, and they shoved it through that bread slicer to make it more realistic, right? Also, they shot all this during 2020.
They did. Bat.
Like some of it was during 2019, but most of it was shot during 2020. And
I
they
was
got it
shooting
all
during-
done before the shutdowns.
Dude, I remember filming during the shutdown. That was not a fun time.
Yeah. No, I was
'Cause-
my job back then was installing commercial washers and dryers. Well,
Dude.
when you can't go to laundromats, hotels, or dry cleaners, guess what? You kind of run out of options.
Dude, I'm not kidding when I tell you this. When I was on a set during the shutdown, you had to get tested the night before the shoot, when you got to the shoot, in the middle of the day, and at the end of the shoot.
You work for a movie company?
Like, I was filming for a TV show.
Oh.
So they had to test everybody multiple times a day.
I was about to say, look, man, give me a hookup.
It was not fun
Yeah,
at
no,
all.
I think I would lose my mind.
Because it was like, oh God, another thing's going up my nose. Oh, you're going up my nose.
Oh yeah.
Um,
But yeah, Robin, give a brother a hookup. You know, if you.
oh
if you
man,
got-
I've been trying to get the hookup myself. But it was not a fun time, and it was a requirement in the industry to get the vaccination. And I don't like many people didn't get it. I was forced to, but I was gonna get it anyway.
Yeah.
But I was kind of forced to get the vaccination because, being around people all day during that time was not.
Oh, my job another job that I had, it was like 2021 is when they really started pushing the vaccine, right? They gave you a bonus if you, they gave you a bonus if you got the vaccine.
Man, I didn't get no bonus.
Yeah, and
How
so
is this required?
yeah. So, anyways, we probably should get back to the movie before we get way off topic.
But yeah, Kate bread sliced, and Kate, Sam is taking the drugs to kill her.
Yeah, and they can't. They can't do the 5 minutes because the killer starts showing up, and so they decide to drown her.
Which
Anyways.
I was about to say, I don't know if I looked away or I was doing something else, but I come back after she vomited, and now they're drowning her. So I'm like,
because
I was
couldn't
afraid I
wait
missed something.
Yeah, they couldn't wait the 5 minutes, and Ruby started coming after them, and then that's when the other killers got distracted with the other people, and so they decided to drown her. And so during that time, Dina's drowning Sam, and then eventually Josh is about to be killed, and then Sam dies, right?
Yep.
And which this is another thing that just was so dumb, is they inject her with 5 EpiPens. That can kill someone.
They injected her so much.
That won't bring anyone back to life. That kills people. If you're
They're like,
drowning
"Oh,
someone, that's what you need to do. CPR, which she finally does
Yeah.
after realizing the EpiPens weren't working, and so they do CPR on her.
Dude. I can just imagine her getting CPR and waking up and her heart's beating 1,000 miles an hour.
Oh, straight up heart attack after that. And so Anyway, so they go to the police
Stupid.
station. They go to the police station, give their statements, and they kind of
And again, they're covering it up for
yeah, because they don't
like,
want
oh,
the
drug-
witch's tale to be true.
yeah. So it's like drug overdose, drug overdose.
Well, they said no. They called Simon and Kate druggies, and
Yeah,
those are the
druggies.
ones who killed everyone in the hospital, and then eventually they got killed themselves, and blah 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 blah. And so then they do all the interviews, and then they leave, right?
Yep.
And Sam's mom shows up, and it was like, Sam, what are you doing? Blah 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 blah, and starts getting mad at her and starts pulling her away. And then Dina's like, hey, I'll see you tomorrow. And
And they're like, no, see you tonight.
and then they kiss, which you can see the disgust on the mom's face. You know, she's not
Yeah,
happy.
Like, oh,
Yeah,
like,
and so
why would you do this?
yeah,
So
I can't
cuts to
believe
Dina's.
you've done this.
I can't believe you done this.
So basically, what I was thinking of was, oh fuck, I can't believe you've done this.
Then it goes to Dina's house and they're talking. Josh is back on his AOL instant message board, which gives my old man heart all the happy feelings in the world.
And we still technically have
And-
not really message boards, but we got a lot more messaging nowadays, like Discord and things like
Yeah,
that.
but back then they were called message boards.
Yeah. Back in
Um,
my day.
back in my day. And they're and him and whoever he's talking with are talking about like what just happened, and he comes to the like he defends
Simon and Kate.
Simon and Kate, saying, "Oh, I knew them, they were my friends. Here's all the good qualities about them."
And he says it was the witch. That
It was
did
yeah, they witch.
it. Yeah.
And doorbell rings again, and funny thing is coming threes, even though I didn't find this particularly funny. They were like, Dina's like, oh, Josh, the doorbell's ringing again for like the third time.
Yeah. And it
And-
turns out Josh just ordered pizza and he got it.
Yep. And she's like, you ordered pizza for everybody? That's sweet.
And
Which-
it's like, you're making this weird. And it's like, that was so random.
It was really random, but it wasn't like I could see the sibling thing like, please don't make this weird. This is
Yeah.
a nice thing.
Yeah. And then
Then
they get a
then the
call.
phone rings.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's C Bourbon. And Dina's like, "Oh, thanks for your punctuality. Thanks for calling me back, I guess."
And C. Berman's like, well, you didn't really beat the witch. The witch will find another way.
Yeah, like you
For
think
this.
this is over?
Yeah. And it's like the witch will
then-
find another way. And then all of a sudden, Sam gets possessed.
And then starts trying to kill Dina. Like stabs her.
Yeah. And then
And
Dina shows
they
up
have a little-
while Josh is on AOL.
hey, well, my dude. And they get a little kerfuffle. This isn't shown on screen, but Dina ties up Sam,
Yeah.
goes downstairs, and Josh sees Dina all bloodied, and they're like, "What happened?" They go back upstairs. They see Sam tied up, grunting,
Yeah.
kind of a demonic grunt.
Yeah.
And
And then it kind of that's the technically the end of the movie. And then they do a thing where they're talking to C. Berman. It's like it's a teaser for the next movie. That was
yeah, the
kinda
next like couple of movies.
Oh, it was just that one. And they were teasing the next movie and kind of, letting them know what's going to possibly happen and things like that. And then that's the end of the movie. That is Fear Street 1994. So after we have discussed this, what did you like? What did you didn't like? And what rating would you give it 1 out of 5 stabs, Robin?
Again, I thought it was beautifully shot. I thought the soundtrack was really good. I liked the feel of it. It felt very 90s. I can forgive the terminology because they were It was back in the 90s. They were trying to make it feel like it. The acting to me felt hit or miss a little bit. And they tried to compact so many stories into this hour and a half, hour, 40-minute movie, which made everything a lot more confusing because you had to keep time for every story they were trying to tell.
Yeah.
And if they did it right, it would have been good, but some stories didn't live up to where I personally think they were going with it, you know? Overall, because of the fact that it was so complicated and so congested with a lot of stories going on at once, I would give it 2 out of 5 stabs.
2 out of 5 stabs. Yeah, because like unlike other horror franchises, it actually gets better with each sequel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, anyways, I did like the movie, how it was shot, and just how, and then like bringing up the killers and the effects that were going on in it and things like that, and it gave a pretty big 90s vibe. So yeah, I can say the same thing, kind of let go of what was said in the movie, because again, it's supposed to be based in the 90s, right? And so anyways, and again, what I didn't like is just they made it very convoluted, very political, and they were trying to do too much at once. Like I would say if they would have made the movie longer, it would make sense, right?
I 100% agree. Or maybe not do one of the stories.
Yeah, and so if that's the same thing, like I believe, like that was kind of the thing. It was just kind of being. It was like they were trying to throw a bunch of things at once, and so my rating again, I would say I give it 2 stabs out of 5, the same thing. So again, it averages out overall. Dun 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 dun. 2 stabs. Again, it gets better, right? And so this is the end. Again, we thank you guys so much for listening or watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow wherever you listen to your podcasts, on Applecast, Spotify, YouTube. Eventually, we're actually going to be off of Applecast, so it's just going to be Spotify or YouTube. And we do appreciate you guys listening. Make sure you go watch Fear Street on Netflix and on DVD, wherever you can get it, legally get it, because again, we don't claim any ownership of this. We don't claim the copyright. So, anyways, Robin, you have anything to say to these fine people before we go?
Follow your dreams. Just follow your dreams. That's my message.
Perfect advice. Follow your dreams. My dream was to be a movie star, and it didn't work out. Anyways.
Oh man, you can still do that. Just follow your dreams. Go out and audition.
I have to get to California first.
You can audition in other places.
I have to find it. Anyways, so again, thank you guys so much for listening, watching, and make sure you tune into next week's episode. I know it's going to be good. And as always, be spooky.